And we're live, which is actually sort of not unique where Marla and I go live because we have done this on a few occasions. And what we've done is it's been just you and me talking about wellness every once in a while. And it's great to get together with you once again and see how you're doing. So Marla Barr, wellness expert, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Your podcast, by the way, is called Your Wellness Journey. We are now 95 episodes in, and we're looking for some more episodes in the next little while as you get towards 100. So tell me why you wanted to start a podcast and how it all came together.
Oh boy. So I've been working in wellness for over 25 years now, and you get the same questions that come up over and over again. And the podcast is a great opportunity to not only interview some of the greatest wellness experts all over and self-care experts, but answer the questions of what do we think about the keto diet, really from a science perspective, really from a health perspective. What is it? Is it really good or isn't it? About dairy and about, understanding your body type and yoga and what we should be doing and how to meditate. So it's a great opportunity to just take little aspects of our self-care and kind of dive a little bit further into it. So it's been wonderful.
What have you learned over the 95 episodes that you put out? Because we go back to, I guess it was about June of 2018. So here we are. We're 3 years into this. And over 95 episodes. So how has the show evolved, but how has your teachings evolved?
Gosh, I think probably really listening to the audience, and every single time someone emails me, messages me, gets me on Instagram and is like, hey, I've got a question about X. They always have the best show topics ever. Sometimes it's just a sentence they send me, but taking the time to go, okay, let's solve this issue. Let's find the 5 tips that we can really go into this and dive deeper and tell a little story. I worked in, even though I've been in wellness for 25 years, about 10 years of that, I went into wildlife conservation. So I started looking at how can we understand humans from understanding a panda or understanding a cheetah. So taking it's storytelling. It's all right, let's wake up with a lion and let me tell you what a lion does when it wakes up first thing in the morning and how that is the same as your morning routine. And it kind of sticks. These little stories stick. So that's kind of one of my favorite parts, is just talking to the audience and answering their questions and where they are right now.
And that's one of the things, by the way, that if you are watching us on Facebook right now, you can ask Marla your questions. This is probably something you and I should do a little bit more of, but we both have these hectic schedules. And I know you got 2 little ones at home, maybe not so little as much anymore, but it's just, the ability to go live. We did hem it down to this hour in particular today. So thanks a lot for taking the time, but we should go live more often just to ask away for all the questions.
Yeah, especially this time of year. We're both in Winnipeg, so we're kind of still in a modified lockdown. The kiddos are home. They're in grade 1 and 4. So all day long, it's just kind of homework and getting them organized. But it's also all of us, depending upon where we are in different stages of this pandemic, still going back into it, coming out of it, 3rd wave, 4th wave, and it plays havoc right here, and how we see it play out in our bodies, in our thoughts. And it's really important as we're slowly coming out of this or slowly going into the summer to take time and really say, okay, what am I feeling? What am I thinking right now? And how is it impacting the choices I'm making?
So a lot of us have been through, I guess, a similar experience with lockdown, but we're not all going through it at the same time. Mm-hmm. And you've got most of your audiences in California, but here you are in Manitoba. So you're having a much different experience than your listeners are.
Well, it's just about connecting with them, whatever they want to talk about. If it's dairy right now, we chat about that. If it's about, especially right now, and connecting with our emotions and understanding, okay, what are they telling us, listening to them. All of us are in different places. And I think at least it seems from the messages I'm getting, a lot of us are still having very close friends and family members that are getting really ill, passing away with this. And it's every single time one person passes away, it kind of opens up this door where we're allowed to socially grieve for, it's socially acceptable for us to grieve for a solid 3-4 days. And then after that, it's like, okay, we've got to get back to normal. So we use that opportunity. It could be someone who passed away who you haven't even seen for a little bit. But when this does happen, we use this as an opportunity to get back to that grieving place. So we might find a lot of things coming up in us, depending upon, it doesn't matter where you are in the pandemic right now.
Well, I want to credit you for getting me practically off dairy. So talk a little bit about the impact, because you were very keen on that. Matt, you've got to stop it with the dairy. And I've gotten rid of it. About 95% of it is gonzo. So why should somebody consider reducing or giving up dairy?
Gosh, I think if there's one thing that you could look at your wonderful, what you eat currently, and you could take out, and even though I've been plant-based since I was 7 years old, so maybe 30 some years now, dairy is the one. And I slowly started to learn more about dairy and why we're consuming it and why we shouldn't be consuming it when I was in food science in university. So when I was 19, 20, 21. And it hasn't been in our human diet for very long, and we fight it. Our bodies fight it. We're all supposed to consume dairy, meaning dairy from our mom for the first year to 2 years, whatever us and our mom decide is accurate and we want in a relationship. But after that, our body naturally loses the ability to process it, as does every single mammal out there. We're mammals. We're at our core, we're all mammals. And we all lose that ability. Cats and dogs and raccoons, and it doesn't matter who you are, what species you are. If you are a mammal, we are supposed to lose that ability. And by keeping that, and especially consuming dairy from an animal we're not supposed to from the beginning, it wreaks havoc on our systems. And so my father passed away with a stroke almost 2 years ago. And one of our last great conversations we had, because I was researching the dairy episode that we did for the show. And both my parents grew up on farms north of town here, was what is the life cycle of an actual cow? What does that look like? What does it entail? So we went through the whole thing of, they had 2-3 cows on the farm, and here's how old they got, and here's when they started to produce milk, and blah, 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 all of this. Well, we are basically taking these cows and inseminating them before they are even a year old at times, which is about 4 years before they would naturally get to that point. So we have to make sure that they are laden with antibiotics, with drugs. And what we're finding is all of those are transferring in the milk to especially our kids and us. And we're seeing it where these kids are going through having periods way earlier than they should have, than they normally should have, because we are forcing these cows to get to this point sooner. And those exact hormones, those exact drugs are going into our children. So about 2.5 years now, Canada admitted they got rid of dairy from their Canada Food Guide. It took them over 25 years. It was the research was led by Dr. Shiv Chopra, who led the charge for absolute decades on this and proved it with hundreds of other individuals and scientists. And it was like, hey, we don't need dairy. We were never supposed to consume this ever. So that's one of the best things I can say is please get off dairy. We're never supposed to consume it in the first place.
Okay, so let me throw in goat or sheep outside of cows, because, and I've seen this, people will have, they'll have cow dairy and they may not feel well, but they might have goat or sheep. Can I make an excuse that one might be better than the other, or no?
So I would say no to all of it, but the reason why we do not react as poorly to sheep or goat milk, because they are not given the level of antibiotics, the level of drugs that is absolutely standard in the dairy industry right now. So that's why we're seeing that big difference when you are seeing it. But now, when I started going dairy free in my early 20s, late teens, there was pretty much soy milk and rice milk. And rice milk was like watered down water. It wasn't that great. Where now we have so many great alternatives and so many great local alternatives. There's oat milk right now, which is a booming industry here in Canada. So, and there's coconut milk and cashew milk, and there's so many different varieties, and they cost the same as dairy milk. They have much less footprint, and they're much more nutritionally dense and better for us. So the switch is easier. If you want to have yogurt, great. You can still have yogurt. Downstairs, we have a coconut-based yogurt. I was trying out some new cashew-based cheese earlier today, but everything that you want there's an amazing alternative that is much better for you out there.
What are some of the other things that I look back at the Canada Food Guide, and it's kind of crazy to think some of the stuff that used to get recommended, like orange slices of cheese, which I don't even think is real food. And this is another thing that I learned through your podcast. And by the way, for those who I'll put it down in the down below here, and that's where to find Marla's podcast shortly. But talk about this thing about food versus fake food. When you're eating this fake food and it goes in your body and your body doesn't understand it, because then I started to make this discernation between real and fake.
Yeah. So this is back when I was in food science as well. The term food-like substance came up, which is interesting. Let me just see if I have them. You want to know what? I'm just going to grab something really quick for you here. I always have my molecules handy, so I'll use that in a sec. So there's a thing where we eat food. And what is food? Food are things that they don't have an ingredients list for the most part. You go downstairs into my kitchen and you have oats. What's the ingredient list in oats? It's oats. That's it. We know that's food. But things that are processed to such a degree for such a long time become something that's a little bit different. Now, this was for a different class I was teaching, so this isn't even a food molecule. But every single time a molecule changes slightly, its bond changes because it has been in a situation where it has been heated or cooled or processed or just bended in a million different ways, our body can no longer recognize it as food. So I go into any grocery store, you pick up something from the counter, you pick up something, and you look at this ingredient list, and if it is so long and you cannot figure out what it is, I always think of myself, once upon a time in a faraway land, this was food, but it is not food anymore. And it means it's not going to fill me. It is not going to serve my body as food. And what happens to us is there's a couple things that happen to us. And we all go through this every single week is we eat something, something that it was in the frozen food aisle. It's something you toss in the microwave, you heat up and you eat, and that's it. So that your body goes, okay, is this food? It gets into your digestive system and it says, okay, can anyone recognize this? Your stomach's going, looking all over, all of your wonderful microbiome is looking all over and saying, does anyone recognize this? Can we use this as food? And there's one of two things that happen. One is something the body says, no, we don't recognize it, and it goes through your system. You're not pulling nutrients. We used to say, you are what you eat. And we got rid of that about 15 years ago. It's not what you eat that is what you are. Then we say, okay, you are what you digest. No, not what you digest. We know a little bit more now. And now it is, you are what you absorb, what your body can actually pull from it. So say if you and I were sitting here and we're both eating the same apple, exact same apple, but right before it, you got a really important text that has you so emotionally charged, you are not in a place where you're going to be digesting anything. So even though I have an apple, you have an apple, 100 calories, 100 calories, what my body is able to pull from it and yours in that situation is entirely different. We are not getting the same caloric value, which is why it's just useless to count calories. It's kind of an old thing. But back to food-like substances, the exact same thing happens in your body. Either your stomach, your digestive system has to make a decision, Is this food, can we use it or can we not? If we can't, goes through your system. That's one option. And the second option is it goes to the safest place, which feel where your digestive system is. It's right over here to the side, right around our belly. So we're always thinking, what is this, spare tire we're having? And in our system, we have the most beautiful, amazing, perfect cells, and they're fat cells. They're adipose tissue. Do you ever feel, or have you ever heard of anyone who gets cancer of the spare tire? No, we don't get that. And so what happens is right here around our belly is these food-like substances that we consider. Go out and buy Oreos or something that's highly, highly processed. And what happens is your body will pull them into right here, the closest place possible for your digestion, and coat it in adipose tissue, which is preserving it, saying, I don't know what the heck this is, but we're just going to keep it here, keep it safe, because we want to keep it out of our organs to keep ourselves safe. So that is what happens. And that's why like an hour later, you're like, I just ate a big meal. I had that microwave burrito, but why am I hungry an hour later? It's because your digestive system said, hey, we're hungry. We need nutrients down here. And you didn't give it anything that can do anything with.
You see, that happened to me once with a Popeye's chicken sandwich. It was full of salt and a bunch of other things, and I was still hungry afterwards. And I said, that was a big mistake.
Yeah, your body did not recognize that as food. That's okay. We're all going to have things that are like that, as long as the majority of the food that we eat is actually food.
Yeah, I think I'm done with that one. And then, like cheesies, there's another one that I'm like, wait a second, I'm just interested in the salt. I'm not really interested in the food.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things is you don't have to be a food scientist in order to conquer and know all this. So talk a little bit about your shopping experience and when you're cruising the aisles, because I know you like to take your time in the aisles.
Yes, now it's fantastic because at least with lockdown, whenever I do go grocery shopping, I can't go with the kids. So I go up and down the aisles. I pretty much stick to the outside. So I do this grocery shopping cart. How I coordinate it is you think of your cart where you toss most of the things, and the underneath part, if you have a whole bunch of things, and the top part where you put your purse, or we put the wee kids when they're little. So I break it up into 3 sections. If it's something I'm not going to eat, toilet paper, Kleenex, soap, that stuff, that goes on the bottom. Everything that is food, and food I classify as things that have absolutely no ingredient list. It is basil, it is cilantro, it is broccoli, it is, things with no ingredient list. That is my actual food. That's what's going to fill us. That's what's going to treat us like we are the Lamborghinis and fuel us up like we need to. That goes into the bulk of the shopping cart. And the other things that are food-like substances that you're going to have, my kids are going to have a box of cereal every once in a while. That goes in the very top section. So that ensures that 90% of the food that we eat is actually food.
So what about labels of ingredients? What am I looking for? What is good? What is bad? You have a little cheat sheet?
Yeah. Do you have to Google it? Do you have to Google it, or do you know what it is? Do you know, oh, salt. Okay, I know what salt is. Oh, sugar. Okay, I know what that is. Do you know do you have to Google anything on that ingredient list? And how many ingredients does it have? Anything doesn't need to have more than 5 ingredients. As soon as it has more than 5 ingredients, my little food science antennas start to kind of go off, and really, really pay attention. You should not need to Google any of the ingredients. You should know what they are.
I noticed that my local grocery store started to rearrange pretty much, everything. So you mentioned about, doing that big circle going all the way around the outside of the grocery store. And of course, they've done a renovation. I think they're messing with us, and they're trying to get us to buy something, because I think you and I figured it out. And I think a lot of people were too. They were all shopping on the outside and avoiding the inside. So have you noticed any changes there? Or?
We try to shop at kind of a farmer's market. It's this little tiny place that's, smaller than my house is. So it's pretty much all food that is in there. But the times that we do go into a big grocery store, I still like to go down every single aisle because I want to see what everyone else is, what they're marketing to people. And especially, what are they marketing on eye level? What are they marketing on kids' eye level. What's up high, what's down low? I'm always looking from a marketing perspective, what do they want us to see and what do they not want us to see? So I always go into the grocery store with like kind of a different idea of what we're supposed to be purchasing or what they want us to be. It's entirely marketing.
Let's touch on the keto diet for just a sec, because you and I had a back and forth about it. I learned that I was going to have to give up things that I like beans and rice. And I'm like, that's part of my eating healthy. Yeah. So at the same time, though, rice and beans, I can overeat those from time to time. But where does keto sort of land on, for you?
Well, at the end of the day, any diet out there that says go on and eat bacon, they're all about eating meat and eating dairy. That's not long term. Sure, it will put you in a ketogenic state and maybe it will help you lose weight in a short term. It will not keep you on planet Earth a minute longer. We are looking for how can we keep you? You are a gift to planet Earth. I want to keep you on planet Earth. I want to keep you cancer free. I want to keep you stroke free. I want to make sure that from the top to the bottom, you don't have any aches and pains that you're dealing with. That is not the diet that's going to get you. They're looking at go to and type in keto online. And what is the big thing that they're going to say? Lose weight. Well, losing weight has nothing to do with making sure that we are healthy. And that's getting over that is really hard. Breaking the scale and saying, I don't have to look at it. That doesn't mean I'm healthy. If I lose 10 pounds, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm healthy. If I gain 10 pounds, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm healthy. But any type of diet that's out there that the very first claim that you see it in the video, you see it wherever is lose weight. That has nothing to do with your health, like keeping you here on planet Earth for as long as possible.
I do want to point out to everybody who's checking this out is Marla's got 95 some odd episodes now that are up on her podcast, which is called Your Wellness Journey. You can find it wherever you get podcasts, but also on her website at marlabarr.com. And boy, you've had some, there's John Rush.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an athlete, you should be paying attention to a guy like John Rush and the way he eats, to do this. And you've had Dr. Gregory Schwartz on, the Planet Doctor, and he's, I would say he's a fairly famous guy when it comes to, to getting his point across on proper eating. So I just want to congratulate you. We're not at 100 yet. Usually we'll throw you a party at 100.
We'll have a virtual pandemic party.
Yeah, no, that's great. Marla, I want you to take a minute now to tell everybody about some of the things that you just started. You started to offer some courses and some services and consultations, and people can reach out to you. So the interaction just goes more beyond than just the podcast that you serve up.
Mm-hmm. So 25 years ago, when I started really diving into digestion, something came up with one of the professors, and they were talking about the second brain and how our digestive system is our second brain. We know that all of our emotions that bubble up, and we have over 300 individual emotions that you and I feel through the day, from being happy and sad and disgruntled or confused or irritated. There's over 300, and all of those are born in your digestive system. So at that time, in order for me to really understand how you digest food and how you digest and pull all those nutrients out, I had to understand how those emotions bubble up, and when they bubble up, what they're trying to really tell us. So I formed a course, and it's actually, I use the framework of the Chakra System, and where we go through the 7 chakras and we talk about food and we talk about the emotions and when things get stuck and how we can learn to interact better. It has a lot to do with relationships, understanding yourself, taking better self-care of yourself, as well as how we can really go forward and understand our day-to-day. What's coming up? What am I thinking? And how that beautiful little triangle of what am I feeling goes to what am I thinking to what are my actions? What am I actually doing right now? And if we can understand that a bit better, you can understand your day and how you're coping with all of this around you. And as well as your relationships. It's a huge eye opener to say, wait a minute, the emotions I'm feeling are a balanced heart chakra. Okay, that's where I am right now. I'm talking to my partner and I can tell by the words he is using that he is an out of balance sacral chakra all over the place. Okay, I'm here, he's here. We have to chat. How can I understand that? So it gives you a huge wow, now I understand what the conflicts between my dad and I were for all those years, or from that colleague that we just don't see eye to eye, or why I immediately clicked with my best friend. So it's a lot of fun. So I believe the first one, the root chakra, is up for people to take, and it's a great online course just to learn about yourself. But we spend most of our day, we wake up in our root chakra and we spend the most time there. So that's the most critical one to really understand before we're heading on up and understanding ourselves.
Tell me about your journey through the pandemic, as it pertains to yoga. So I know you like to go out to yoga, and then of course then they shut all the studios. And you and I met in a yoga class, by the way. And I also took one of your yoga workshops on body types.
Yeah.
And so thank you for that. But how have you managed to get the yoga in or working into your daily routine in order to keep yourself sane?
Well, first of all, I had to change what I do. I didn't work for me doing online classes. I started off in the pandemic like that. I would just sign up for my class and I would go and do that online, and then I would go to the rest of my day. And then I fell away from it. It didn't work. It wasn't the same as being in a class with people. It's different. And I had to start incorporating yoga into my everyday. And when I'm making coffee in the morning, there is a yoga routine. I know I have 3 minutes for the coffee to brew and everything. And I have a little flow that I go through every single time. As I am brushing my teeth in the morning, I am doing my balancing routine. I brush. I'm doing one balancing pose, go to the other balancing pose. But I make sure that my day is infused. Every time I walk up my stairs to my second floor, I'm going up a set of stairs. There's about 5 good yoga positions that I can do with my calves, with my hips, right on the stairs. And just having little kids who love yoga because they've practiced it since before they were born. Just being, okay, mama's going to be a teepee. I'm holding downward dog. They toss a blanket over me and now they think I am I'm their tent. So I am holding that position for 5 minutes while they play and climb all over me. So you get creative and you have to find a thing you love. For me, I'm a Pitta body type and partial Pitta mind type, just similar to yourself. So I have to have a challenge. So for me, that's handstands, arm balances. I love that. I love that it's something that, I'm 45 years old now. I love trying to figure out things that my body, I've never been a gymnast, but now if I sit down and I break down these poses every single day, I can get a little bit better at them. So, so that's kind of how I've kept into yoga during the pandemic.
Well, I think I know because I've seen it posted on your Facebook or Instagram before. By the way, you're a great Instagram follow. Keep that up. But kitchen pigeon is, there's a pose that you do in the kitchen. And I think you managed to get your leg up on the counter and fold it over at least one time. And there's your kitchen pigeon.
Yeah, I do a sink dog where you hold on to your kitchen sink and it's just this wonderful expansion. It's the best way for me, at least, to get into downward dog is not really on the ground, but holding onto your kitchen sink and allowing your hips to go back as far as possible. And I show you how you can do that flow just in your kitchen while you're waiting for your coffee to be made.
Okay, so as we look ahead to episodes 96 and beyond, this is hard for me to sort of say, hey, what do you got planned for the next 6 months? Because nobody's really sort of planned that much. I think we're just happy to have some sort of semblance of normal, come back into our lives. But what are you looking at for the next few months?
It goes back to food and what people are going through this summer. depending upon which body type and mind type you are, we go through the seasons really difficult, really differently. Some people are thriving right now, and other people, even though they put on a smile and they say everything's fine and they put on a cute dress and put on their lip gloss and it's all good, and they walk all the way to their mailbox because that's all we're allowed to do and walk back home, it is hard. So really tuning into, okay, how you guys at? Where are you? And understanding each of these body types, mind type. We're in a different place. We're riding this roller coaster a different way. And so this season, summer can be really, really hard for a lot of individuals, where if you are a fire person, have a lot of those fire elements, which I naturally do. I come from a very long line of very strong, powerful warrior women. I think we're all fire signs, where this summer, even though I love summer, I absolutely love it, you get me in direct sunlight and it's really, really hard. It's like my internal fire is competing with that fire in the sky, and I'm not happy, get a little irritated at that. So understanding how important it is to understanding all of the elements, which ones you have and which one you don't. And I did a great episode on the podcast a few episodes ago of understanding which is your missing element of the 5, and that can really help you calm you when you feel like you're spinning, when you're going into that place where you're like, I'm heading into that meeting, or I'm having to deal with someone, or gosh, we're in the pandemic and again, I'm alone on a Saturday night, we're not going out, we're canceling our summer plans. How can you understand, okay, which of those elements are not here and how can I bring them in? But in all honesty, I just normally look at the messages I've received in a given week on Instagram, and I base a good month's worth of content just off of that. So what people say, all the little conversations are so important. I let them drive. I'm in the passenger seat. I let them drive.
Well, I've got a couple things in my future, and that will be because I'm a pitta body, as I've discovered through your workshop. And there will be a lot of tomatoes and cucumbers consumed. I've discovered a really nice Italian salad called panzanello. Panzanella, I think. I'm really having a lot of fun making it, and dressing with, you can get some good sharp tomatoes. It's good. I know I'm not supposed to eat a ton of tomatoes, but the cucumbers cool that stuff down for me. So, anyways, that and my swimming pool for the summer, along with this cool basement, will be the formula for me.
Yeah, I always say with our pittas, with these fire signs, even if you're a fire mind type, you're not a fire body type, ensure that we are drinking water, we are surrounding ourselves with water, even if that means going into the bathroom, closing the door, having a shower, getting into the pool, just being around water and getting out of direct sunlight. You can be outside all day long, but just making sure that when we're in direct sunlight, things change. It's like we are no longer the sun. Us pitta body types or mind types, we feel at our core that we are the sun. And as soon as there's that competition over there, things start to come out where we get agitated and maybe are dealing with things not in our best light.
Just because we started talking about this, do you have one of those quizzes still on your website that helps with body type?
I can go look. I think I do. I think I have that.
For the podcast audience, we're going to put that in the show notes of the episode. So if you're catching this on the podcast, you can find it there. And I guess that if anybody has any questions about their body type and their bodies and diet and wellness, marlabarr.com.
I love it. Yep.
Is there anywhere else we can find you?
Ooh, Instagram is the best place. That's Marla.Barr. That's where I am. I also have, what are my other? I have a couple different Instagram handles. One is the daily self-care tip, where I post every single day, just something that's easy for you to take, just 2 sentences of, that's where I can get that. But it's daily self-care tip on Instagram. And there's nice little shareable resources for everyone there.
Thanks, Marla. Thanks for taking the time today. It's great to see you again.
Thank you, Matt. It's always great to see you.